All right, Nick, let's talk about the Oregon Ducks. Feeling good now. Dan Lanning come out saying that he is not going to go to Alabama. Then Alabama hires an actual head coach. So you feel extra good that the good things that Oregon has going for them are going to keep going. And that is no different than getting big time signings in the transfer portal to help this team grow and conquer potentially. So let's get into the article and talk about it on the other side. This is from over on 24/7 Sports. It says the Oregon Ducks have a huge departure from their historic 2023 season, with junior receiver Troy Franklin leaving the Ducks for the NFL. In the effort to replace the production lost by Franklin, the Ducks have secured the best transfer portal wide receiver product this offseason. Texas A&M sophomore wide receiver Evan Stewart was on campus for an official visit this past weekend and has announced he will sign with the Ducks, the number 2 overall transfer portal prospect and the number 1 wide receiver transfer portal prospect will have 2 years of eligibility plus a redshirt year at Oregon. Stewart is one of just 2 5-star prospects who have entered the transfer portal. The 6'1", 175-pound junior to be comes to Oregon with 91 career catches for 1,163 yards and 6 touchdowns. As a sophomore this season, Stewart caused 38 passes for 514 yards and 4 touchdowns. Evans is expected to join Oregon ahead of spring football. Now, Nick, this is probably about as big as they could get as far as trying to replace Franklin's production. This is absolutely huge signing, just showing the confidence that a lot of young players, a lot of guys coming up, and a lot of really good players have in the Oregon Ducks, especially the offensive side of the ball. I'm sure Stewart knows that he's going to have a heck of a lot more production coming to Oregon, being in this system, and just showing that this is a place where players want to be. And Dan Lanning is a coach who can get the job done on the recruiting side. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But Oregon fans, I think this may have been the biggest get of the offseason so far. Let us know in the comments section below what you think the biggest player that has committed or transferred to Oregon this offseason is in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on everything Ducks?
All right, so let's start with Stewart here for a second. And look, I had a chance to watch a lot of A&M games over the last 2 years just by happenstance in terms of, the games that were playing, the matchups they were in that I was really focusing on. And I tell you what, Evan Stewart is a guy I really liked. I thought this kid was a superstar that unfortunately didn't get the football the right way playing for the Texas A&M Aggies. I think he'll have a lot better opportunities the way Oregon likes to play, a lot more get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly, let your receivers make plays in space, take opportunistic shots down the field. That's really Stewart's game, because watching him play, and he's not the biggest guy in the world, right? 6 feet, 175 pounds, according to this report. He's one of these guys I love to watch because he plays bigger than he really is. He sort of reminds me, even though he's a little bit taller, he reminds me of one of your favorite players. He reminds me of Steve Smith, formerly of the Carolina Panthers and then the Baltimore Ravens in the National Football League. He's just an aggressive, physical, competitive dude, great yards after catch. This is a massive steal for the Oregon Ducks, a big-time coup for Dan Lanning, getting Stewart to come up to Eugene and join this Oregon program. But I want to focus on Lanning here for a second, because obviously with Nick Saban retiring and everything going on in college football right now, everyone's talking about the greatest coaches, the best coaches, who's the best, things like that. That's a common conversation right now. When I look at what Dan Lanning has done in Oregon, and Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. I don't know if there's more of a complete coach in the entire realm of college football. In terms of recruiting, he's had back-to-back top 10 classes. That's very good. But some coaches are really good recruiters. How about motivation and energy? We did a number of stories during this past season of different tricks, little tools Lanning would do during the practice week to get his players energetic, motivated, stay on task, even though the season ran long. How about game day coaching and decision making? Generally, he's very good about that. Defensive guy, comes from the Kirby Smart tree, understands how to manage the game. How about developing players? He's did a phenomenal job with that at Oregon. He did a good job with that when he was at Georgia as well. How about the transfer portal? He's been crushing it in the transfer portal, and the Stewart edition is another example. Mize, is there a more complete coach in college football right now than Dan Lanning? I think the answer is no. I think he's at the top of the list, and I think he deserves a lot more respect than he's getting, and it's exactly why. The moment Nick Saban announced his retirement, Lanning was Alabama's first call in order to bring him in to replace Saban, and it's a good job that Oregon was able to hold on to him, because I think Lanning, he's one of those rare coaches who does everything extremely well, and having him on this Ducks program gives him a chance to compete for national titles year in and year out.
Yeah, Nick, in the moment that Saban announced his retirement as well, I think that puts Dan Lanning in the conversation for the best coach in all of the NCAA right now.
Yeah.
To credit to what you said, He's done such great stuff. I know he's got to go out and win a national championship, but you at least put him in that conversation right now. This is a guy, like you said, he can do it all. He can recruit the young guys. He can get the veteran transfer portal guys to want to come to his team. He can get his own team fired up, give them ammunition, get them to go out and play up to or past their abilities. This is a guy who has done a phenomenal job with this Oregon team. They're probably one of the most well-rounded teams as far as having great defense and great offense. And like you said, I think Dan Lanning is just like Oregon. You got to feel great that you're able to retain him. Alabama, a team he's really familiar with. It probably is a very enticing job to go, but I think, Oregon, they're able to do whatever they needed to do, talk to Lanning, convince him to stay at Oregon, and boom, that is why you see a guy like Stewart comes. Because I'll be honest, everyone's looking at Alabama right now. If Lanning was to leave, you would not get guys like Stewart, and you would start losing a lot of guys like Alabama is right now. But you know who might pick those guys back up? Dan Lanning. I think there's a big opportunity there as well to get some of these people who are flocking out of Alabama since the departure of Nick Saban. So I think overall, like you said, Dan Lanning, just an excellent coach, and Stewart was an excellent pickup.
And just one final stat to leave you guys on, and I was double checking it. According to 24/7 Sports, there is one program in all of America that's had a top 10 recruiting class and a top 10 transfer portal class these past 2 seasons, 2023 and 2024. That's Oregon under Dan Lanning. You talk about building a team the complete way, the right way, while maintaining game day quality coaching decisions, maintaining the energy during the practice week. There is nobody better than that. The addition of Stewart's a phenomenal move, but with Dan Lanning running the show up in Eugene, there is no reason Oregon can't compete now for Big Ten titles and, more importantly, national titles.